Good night. Welcome once again to the Make It Happen with Chamara interview series. I am Chamara Hollingsworth, and tonight I'm going to be interviewing Abi Nicholls of the Reach Your Goals Academy and the Beijing Fempreneurs Collective. Now, I am very excited to be talking to Abby. She actually is a very vibrant person I know because I feel like I say that she's one of the most vibrant people I know every single week. But I guess I know a lot of vibrant people. But she is a very bubbly personality. She has so much to offer, and I am excited to get to know more about how she does what she does, how she does what she does. Ah, hey.
Hi, Tamara. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
Pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. Got through the rain today. Feeling quite good now.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's actually a quiet moment now. No water.
Yes, it's peaceful. It's
Yeah.
peaceful now. The calm after the storm.
Oh, well, that's cool because it said there's a warning,
What's
a
coming?
watch, a watch for what's coming. So it's like, okay, let's see what.
Coming.
How is everything on your end?
Um, yeah, pretty good, really. Yeah, pretty good. I think coming into 2021, you were a bit bit dubious, a bit wondering what was going to happen, but actually, 2021's been pretty good. It's been pretty good.
Mm.
I've been pleasantly surprised.
Oh, that's good. I'm here trying to figure something out. The thing to hold my camera broke, so I have something
Oh
here
no,
rigged up.
tripod.
So I'm thinking
Oh,
about
it will be fine. It will be fine. Mine's propped on my laptop, so
fair enough.
we we find a way.
Okay, so as we wait for people to join us, let's get started. I would like you to tell our audience a bit about you and what
Mhm.
it is that you
Right. My name is Abi Nicholls. My business is the Reach Your Goals Academy, um, and also attached to that is Beijing Fam, which is a fempreneur mastermind, um, and centering really around accountability and brainstorming and supporting each other as a group. So that collective, we're doing things together, we're supporting each other, we're helping each other to get clarity around our ideas and that sort of thing. But when it comes to the Reach Your Goals Academy side, it is to do with productivity, profitability in your business, and also accountability. So they merge together, they blend together, but they're really all about helping you to go from kind of overwhelmed and a little confused, maybe lacking that direction and not having that support, to a place where you are, just rocking it because you've just got everything you need in place, not only the tools but the support to actually reach the goals that you set for yourself.
okay, nice. And also attached to that, I know that you have a planner. Could you tell us a bit
Yes.
about the planner that you have to offer?
Yes, the Reach Your Goals Planner. This is our third year, so going into 2022, that will be the fourth year that we've had our Reach Your Goals Planner. Really born out of necessity. I needed a planner. I could see the need for having it, but I wasn't really seeing anything that was doing what I wanted it to do. Excuse
Mhm.
me, but also from the very beginning, the planner was about spotlighting and highlighting and promoting female entrepreneurs in Barbados. So it's been a vehicle that has just completely changed my business, not only personally helping me to be much more productive and much less overwhelmed, but also the connections that I've been able to make with female entrepreneurs in Barbados.
Mm-hmm.
It has just been a complete game changer for my business. So everything changed because I started with the Belgian Entrepreneurs Association, and once I released the planner, I changed my whole business to the Reach Your Goals Academy, because I felt that it was a much more important thing to help people to reach their goals regardless of what they are, you know, not just in business, but in life and in whatever you're trying to achieve. There are certain things that are going to help you along the way. So the planner is just my baby, and I just love it. Every year I get excited to get my new planner, and I've changed it over the years too, to change different pages and stuff like that. But it's really awesome, and the ladies that are featured are just phenomenal.
Oh, I'm glad you said that, because you mentioned not too long ago that you are very big on really uplifting women and highlighting women. Like, why is that important to you?
I love to see women striving to reach their goals, and especially in business, because I think we are in a unique position. A lot of the times we are very good at multitasking or wearing so many different hats and achieving so many different things. And I think that through having my children, I kind of felt a little bit like you get lost a little bit in motherhood. And when I was doing my business, it was like, that's me, you know, like when I initially, before Rich Girls Academy, I did a sewing academy where a person could learn to sew. And I felt like when I was sewing, it was like, this is Abby doing this, right? It's like mummy doing it. It's not wifey doing it. You know, this is Abby. And I loved that freedom that it gave me, or that identity, you know, that something I was doing for myself, not being lost. And I felt like in talking to other women, it was like a lot of them felt the same way. You know, it was like they just didn't have something to hold on to that was really, really them. So I just think it's amazing what women can really achieve. And I love being part of the process, you know, like hearing their ideas and being able to brainstorm with them and then help them to bring that to fruition. Like, I used to say that when I used to create things, like when I used to sew things, I'd be like so amazed to look at this thing I'd sewn, you know, this thing I had created, and how proud I was of myself. Now, when I talk to women and I see them, their ideas coming, you know, to fruition, and thinking that you can support them and help them, I am so proud. It's a very similar feeling, and it's not even me, but it's just a wonderful feeling to be part of that journey with them.
I'm actually trying to figure out if I could pinpoint what that feeling could be, because like for me, when I have like discussions with some of my clients, or even just general intellectual discussions, I feel like this is like my vibration is literally being raised, you know. And it's not quite satisfaction, it's like a little more than that. It's like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, that type of feeling. But like you mentioned that you have the Reach Your Goals Academy, as well as before you would have done the Sewing Academy. So it's like you're a teacher at heart, would you say?
I guess maybe. Yeah, I think so. I love to impart that to somebody else, you know. There are two sides to it. If I'm going to be really transparent, there are two sides to it. I used to sew. I used to create these little reversible baby dresses, and I used to sell them, and I enjoyed that. It was a nice business. But in order to teach persons, it was a lot easier, because you're actually selling what you already know, and there's not some labor involved, you know. When I was pregnant with my last daughter, I decided that I wanted to, yes, pursue my business, but I didn't want something that was so labor intensive, because I have three girls, and it was like, no, when I do my business, I want to be able to focus on it, but I do not want it to be like that hard slog. Sewing is really hard. Like, sewing is like, I put hats off to all the seamstresses out there, because they put in a phenomenal amount of work to create these things for persons. But yeah, part of it for me was that teaching is easier and less labor intensive. And then you can actually help persons to make their own stuff, you know, that I don't have to make it for them, you know, they can make their own. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess that part of me, yes, it is that, but also it was me changing the direction of my business to make it more suitable for my life and for what I wanted out of my business. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's actually pretty fantastic. All right. This is what happens when too many questions pop into my head at once. So, what does it take, to run the Reach Your Goals Academy? Like, what goes into it?
Um, it takes a lot of planning, because just what you mentioned just then is exactly the thing that happens with my brain. Like, so many things rush into it at the same time. And so when I sit down and start planning, it helps me to get clear on what I'm trying to achieve. And it stops me from getting too distracted into too many things at once. So I will try and zero in on that particular thing that I'm doing, whether it be with the mastermind or whether it be with programs within the Reach Your Goals Academy, whether it be, you know, getting the persons to be that are going to be featured in the planner. Whatever it is I'm doing, I will schedule it out and plan it out. And that is what helps everything to actually get done and stop me getting overwhelmed or completely distracted, because I have the ability to get completely distracted and do something completely different. So yeah, writing it down, number one, and planning out exactly what I want to get done.
I'm fully with you there. I get very distracted very easily, so I have to use different things to keep me focused. So how do you keep track and ensure that you act upon the plans that you have created? Like, what was involved in that process?
I do find scheduling it when I know, if I know when I'm going to get it done. But then the other part that is like a huge part of it is accountability. So I realized at the end of like 2020, it was like, okay, I mentioned this on another live, like that before 2020, I felt like, you know, you had your community and you're interacting with persons, but you know, entrepreneurship can be a little lonely and you can feel like, you know, you're on your own during the day. So
Mhm.
then you put things in place so that you're not so on your own. So I used to go and work at the library and go to 10 Habitat and work and do different things where I'd be out the house and that sort of thing. And then lockdown came and you're just like, okay, you can do nothing. Just stay home. And it was like, I realized through 2020, you can't rely on the things you did before. So when I got to the end of 2020, although I had achieved quite a few of my goals still, I also recognized like you need to put something else in place. And that's why the Bayesian Fam concept and that side of my business develops, because it was like you have to get and talk with other persons. You have to get some accountability in a different way, because I was actually doing accountability programs with persons and I'm giving them all the accountability. Nobody's holding me accountable. So that's what I love about the mastermind, because without fail, before the end of the session, somebody's gonna be like, so what are you doing, Abby? Did you get your thing done? You know, and I'll be like, oh yeah. And I have to check in, you know.
It's
So
so
yeah,
easy.
that's a definite change.
Yeah, and I was saying it's so easy to like keep working with people and then forget yourself. I don't know, for some reason I always use the example of a mechanic, you see them working on everybody's cars and most of the time when you see their cars, like, what on earth happened?
Going on.
And we tend to do that with ourselves. So it's really a matter of finding that balance so that you can make sure that you are taken care of as well.
So
And making sure that you don't pour from an empty cup. So
oh,
how do you go about like sustaining yourself in order to ensure that your clients, um, you know, are are reaping the best of Abby?
again, it came down to the scheduling and that sort of thing. So when I schedule, I started, well, probably when I first got the planner, some of the elements that I actually put into the planner were just not business related at all. You have things like daily gratitude, you've got things like family wins and stuff like that. So you've got things that actually are built in to allow you to schedule other important stuff as well. And so what I used to do was actually plan in certain things. One of the things that I always remember that was very, it was a typical example of why it was important to schedule everything, was that sometimes I'd be working at home and my little daughter, she was probably only about 1, 2, she was no more than 2, and she would want to go and look at the sheep that are just down the road. There's like a little pasture further down, and she'd be like, Mummy, I want to go and see the sheep. And I'd just be like, trying to get everything done, and I'd just be like, I can't take you to see the sheep right now, you know what I mean? And then I realized she was going to torment me the whole time I was trying to do something else because she wants to go and see the sheep, right? And then I realized, well, if you just take her for 20 minutes to see the sheep, then she will not torment you because she gets what she wants. She wants that attention. Give it to her. So I would actually schedule it, and it'd be like, I can't do this business thing right now because I have to take my child to go and see the sheep. It's important, you know, and she's going to remember it. I've got so many pictures of her and sheep, you know, because it's like we would go very regularly. But it just hit me, you know, you have to take care of everything. And so I found that after me and my daughter walk down and see the sheep, and then we walk back up, or maybe there's muddy puddles and she wants to go and splash, when we go out and splash in the muddy puddles, and I just enjoy that time with her, and then I come back and I start working, then both of us are happy. I get a lot more done. And it was just because I scheduled that important thing as well, you know, and it's not just about profitability in your business and scheduling all of the business stuff and making sure all the social media is done and all this other stuff is done. It's not about hustling. It's about having that balance in your life where you're happy with the time you're allocating to the different areas. So that was what made the difference. And like you say, even like, you know, I'd be pulling the all-nighters and all sorts of things, and then I'd be like, no, actually you need to sleep, right? Actually you need to take lunch, have your lunch. So yeah, it was actually making time for my stuff for the family, and then also the business stuff, so that, like you say, the clients, persons I'm working with, can get a refreshed, good me that's not exhausted or not so tired or thinking about the children while I'm trying to work and that sort of thing. They can actually get me fully engaged at that time because it has scheduled for when that time is supposed to be. Yeah, I find that was definitely a game changer. And it seems so simple, but it's really, really effective.
Yeah, well, I agree. My first thought is, what is it with these little children and sheep? Because my 3-year-old is
Oh,
at that stage where she's very, very fascinated with the sheep. Guys, bring the sheep and graze there right outside almost every evening, and she looks forward to that. It's like, I want to go outside and see the sheep, you know.
mm-hmm,
But I do think you made some very important points. One of the things I did realize as well is, especially with the youngest daughter, is earlier this year is like I was kind of focusing on the work, and every minute she would be coming to me and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I need to get her back into the nursery and this and that and that. And
right.
then I actually started to realize, you know, if I just let her sit here with me while I do the work, eventually she's like, okay, I'm satisfied. I sat down with mommy. And she would just hop off and go along, you know, and
Yeah.
there, like, you know, sometimes we make things a bit more complicated than they need to be just based on how we go about our day, and the way we think that things should be, rather
Mm-hmm,
than sometimes just allowing certain things to unfold. So I think
mm-hmm,
that is really, really important. Another point you made there, well, based on what you were saying, the word boundaries really came up, because it is really, really important to set those boundaries, create those boundaries so you can know, you know, when it's time for family, when it's time for the work, when it's time for you and rest. And sometimes it is really hard to acknowledge that you need the boundaries and then
mm-hmm,
actually set them. Because like I've had many times similar to you when I be like, okay, I'm up. actually last night I was up and I was like, I'm going to do everything I can until I am done. And then like by a certain time I was like, okay, you know what? My brain isn't functioning.
Sleep.
I need to go to sleep. So you have to create those boundaries and that balance in order to really bring your best self forward. You mentioned
So,
profitability because I know you talk about productivity and working on the goals and the accountability and the planning and so on. But tell me a bit more about profitability. Why profitability?
um, it is something that I think that from the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey, I never really had a problem with pricing. I actually in the UK had a cleaning business. It was just me and another friend. We was just like a partnership. We did all the cleaning ourselves and we run the whole business. We had our own website. We had everything, packages up and everything. But the one thing that happened to me at the very beginning was that somebody was leaving a cleaning job and they asked if I wanted to take it over because they heard that I'm doing this little business, and we went to do the quotation, but we had just been given the amount they were already being charged by just a lady that wasn't a company or nothing. She was just a lady by herself, and it was like they're charging like £30 for the whole house, right, apart from the bathrooms. So she says to me, no, well, I'd like the bathrooms done as well. And I'm there like, oh, okay. And I start to think about it, and without really working it out, I just added like £5-7 on top and said, okay, we'll do it for that. Every single time I cleaned the house, I felt sick because I was like, this is way too much work. It's barely covering our gas, our petrol, and we're bringing all our cleaning supplies, all these things, and we're not making a loss, but we're pretty much just breaking even. It seems a complete waste of time doing this job. Eventually we stopped doing it and I was just so relieved. But from then I said, and I developed actually a quotation spreadsheet and a calculator in order to do all my quotations, and I got customers on the packages that we made, and we were making 2, 3 and 4 times the money on the jobs that we were doing because I worked them out with a strategy and I actually knew that they were profitable, the prices were profitable. So in all the different business I've done since then, I've never ever had a problem with pricing. But so many entrepreneurs that I speak to, terrible pricing. Pricing's like the worst. And I've just been like, but how are you going to sustain your business if your pricing is not profitable? It really is one of the worst things that can be happening in your business. You can be, making the sales and still not be making any money. And it will cause your business just to basically dwindle and dwindle and dwindle because you're not going to be adding enough profit to make it worthwhile. So it's not sustainable to have bad pricing. Then on different occasions, I've spoken to different entrepreneurs. I went to the Caribbean Startup Summit from 10 Habitat, and I was sitting next to a guy from, I can't remember where he's from now, Antigua or something, but we were talking again about pricing. And when I was talking to him about it, it's something that just, I don't know, it's just, I feel passionate about it because it just infuriates me that people are not charging properly. So we're talking about it, and he looked at me and he said to me, you should be up there, pointing to the stage. I said, but it's just, to me, logical. Like, if you are not doing this, but it just seems so logical to me that your pricing would make sense. And so many entrepreneurs, they just don't give it any thought. So it was actually my cousin recently, well, last year or the year before, I helped her with her pricing, and she actually increased her prices, and she said to me, yeah, it's done really well and I'm really happy with it. And then she said to me, you have to create a program around pricing because so many of us need it. We don't even know we need it. It's made such a difference in my business. You have to do it. And I was like, okay, look, seeing as this is something that I come up against so often, I then actually created a program and created a course, and I actually put everything down to help people to set their prices profitably. So yeah, I guess it's just a little bit of a bugbear to me, really. It really stresses me out, you know. I'm just like, it makes such a difference to your business if your prices are profitable. It's probably the biggest thing you can do to make more money in your business and make it more sustainable.
I was actually similarly, so I think what your cousin was saying. But my question is, how does somebody even really know when their pricing is not right? Like, what are the telltale signs or something like that?
Um, it's usually where you tend to be scrambling for money, even though you're making sales. So it's
Mm-hmm.
usually where, say, like, for example, you sell stuff, but then somehow you don't seem to have the money to reinvest into your business. So what usually would happen is that, for example, you sell something for $20, but your costs end up being, say, like, sorry, I was just reading the victim. How can you make money and outside pay shit? It's amazing, but it's true. It can happen. um, just really made me laugh. Right. Yes. So you have to be making a healthy profit that enables you to reinvest into your business, get your new stock or create whatever you need to create, and sustain your business and sustain you, right? One of
Mm-hmm.
the biggest things I find is that persons don't pay themselves. And it's like, how are you not paying yourself? Like, of all the people that should get paid, how are you not paying yourself? Or they're not paying themselves properly. So they're not including themselves in their costs. They
Mm-hmm.
don't understand what their costs are. So you might say, well, it costs $10 to make this thing. It costs $10 to make this pen, and so I'm going to charge $20, and you feel you've made a profit, right?
Yeah.
But you actually include the fact that you got to go and buy these pens, or you've got shipping costs, or that you've got to put together the pen, or all these other things that contribute to the costs. You don't include any of them. So then when you sell it and you get that $20, you are scrambling. You kind of feeling it where you're only going to make $7 off of this thing because it's $13 on the costs. And then you're like, I can't just make $7.
Mm-hmm.
My 9-year-old wouldn't try that. She helped her daddy make money and she gets paid in the same process. Yes, yes. That's the way to do it. Encourage the children, get them involved,
But
let
okay,
them
so
be paid.
one of the things that Rube's extraordinary fish kids would have just said was that pricing is a serious, serious thing, and it's true. But what I find happens, like for instance, you just mentioned that a lot of people don't pay themselves. Um, like you just mentioned as well, a lot of us don't include ourselves when we think about when we're pricing the product, we don't include the cost that we would have incurred making that one product. So like, we don't think of things in batches. If I do a batch of this is how much it cost me for the hour that I did this batch. So let me break it
Mm-hmm.
down how many pens I've made in this batch. And if I divide it out, that means that my cost, the money that should come to me is actually this divided by the amount of pens I made in the hour. And you know, and then even things like utilities, like the electricity and those type of things that you use to create the product, a lot of people tend not to include that. They, like you said, they literally just look at the cost of getting the
The
things
raw
in.
material.
I have a very close family member who may or may not be on this live right now that used to make sweetbread and sell, right? And I remember when I was younger, and I say younger because that's when I was doing business at UV. So I was like, at that phase where it was like, yeah, I know everything there is to know about business because I'm doing business at UV, right? But she used
Right.
to spend all of this time baking her her sweetbread. And then at the end of it, then she would charge some little price, like just add on a little bit about, with making it. And then I'd be like, are you really even
Yeah.
making a profit? Because one of the other things that we find happening is that we don't record. So it was
Hmm.
a case where she knew this is her, like she knew that she spent $15 on the product, getting everything together. And by the time she sold everything that batch made, she made $25, you know? But then did she count in the
I,
price of the plastic bags that she put or foil that she put it in? Did she count in the electricity that she used? Did she count in the time? Did she count in the water that she was putting into the mixture? Like those type of things were not accounted for. And these are the simple mistakes that a lot of us make when we're actually, you
I,
know, pricing the business. So I really agree that pricing is very, very important. Triple X is also
I,
saying here that he ran his business for 5 years and never paid himself. And I think that's a mistake that a lot of for some reason I don't know. I don't know if it's Bajans, but is this mistake? It's like we are making all of this thing and then we just do not pay ourselves. But I also think it has a lot to do with financial management because a lot of us, especially when we start a business, it is like as soon as we make the money,
It's not necessarily, but I'm just reading the
you know.
comment here. Unless you're selling drugs, there's no profit for the pocket in less than 2 years and some in five. It's not true. It's not
Mm,
true. You can make a profit off the bat. You have to look at your expenses. You have to look at the way you are running it. There's no way that you should not be selling without making a profit. You might as well just get a job. What's the point of having a business if you're not making a profit? Like
mm,
that's a charity or that's a hobby, and it becomes a very expensive hobby because you end up always putting money in and not getting anything out. The problem with that too is that when you don't pay yourself, you run yourself into trouble because at the end of the day, that's why a lot of persons haven't got money to put back into their getting their products because, like I
mm,
said, if you sell the pen for $20 and the costs are $10, what happens is you sell 10 pens, and really you should have made $100 profit, but you've got $200 in your hand, and the light bill is $200. What are you going to do? You're not going to
exactly.
take the $100, you're going to take the whole $200, put it in, and when you can't buy stock now to sell again. So that is what happens. The cash flow does not
Yeah.
continue, right? So you really should, and this is one of the things that I'm pushing and trying to help people to understand and to include in their business is things like digital products, online services, things that have very minimal to no expenses attached to them, which means you go to profit much quicker. And even if you use that to supplement the product based business, the service that you're doing that has those expenses, you are then at least making a profit on that side and it's supplementing everything. But yeah, it's not true that you don't make a profit. You can make a profit. And that's why for me too, looking at doing the Sew Female Academy, which was teaching people to sew online, I had very few expenses. So when people paid me, I got paid. It was nothing really. Well, what I have to buy? I didn't have to buy anything.
Mm-hmm.
I had everything. So yeah, it's just changing your mindset around. I think the fact that we accept that we are not going to make any money or that we're not going to make a profit is probably 50% of the problem, because we feel it's normal to be an entrepreneur and be broke, but that ain't really normal. It
Fair
ain't
enough. Like,
healthy.
okay. So just tracking back, because I think you might have read a comment that was made a little later down, and I haven't seen that one yet because
Oh,
I try to go back from the top. So like said, he always sees something in his business that the business needs over him being paid, as well as this is why most businesses go into the ground quickly because we focus on being paid and not growth. Um, I could understand where
it's both. So
where you're coming from there in terms of sometimes we do focus a bit more on being paid, or some people focus a bit more on being paid, but I really think it is more of management and boundaries. It's like
Hmm.
what first thing first, when we go into the business, do we sit down and we say, all right, I know that my salary, I would like my salary to be XYZ, and my salary is going to be this amount because these are the things I need to cover at the end of the month.
Hmm.
So if this is supposed to be my salary, my business needs to be able to make clearly more than this so that I can be
Hmm.
paid and the business can be sustainable. That is
Hmm.
one way. And it doesn't always work out that way. Another way is I know that if for everything I sell, this percentage belongs to me. And sometimes you
That makes
do that before you get to the point, you do that until you could get to the point where your business is making enough money to pay you that salary
that amount you
that
want.
you
Right, right.
for yourself. So I think those things are key. Like I had a client just the other day. Um, One of the things that she was doing is like literally is that her business is making money. You know, she's very, thrilled with the amount of money her business is making. But then she's taking that money and she's literally putting it into, you know, paying school fees for her child, um, the groceries and everything. And I'm like, okay, look, you're expecting to hit a particular point this way. You need to decide what your salary is and then manage that money for your
Hmm.
salary so that your business has the space to grow. You said if you say you want to hire somebody, then you can't spend all the money. You need to be able to keep money there so that you could pay somebody when they come, and it's just things
Kind
like
of.
that. Pardon?
I would say kind of. The way that I would look at it is that
Mhm.
you should be pricing in a way that will absorb all your costs and pay you. So it's not that you would make the money and then you're taken away from the business in order to give yourself something. Or if you have your salary in mind or whatever, then you need to price in a way where you can achieve that by the percentage that goes to you, right?
Mhm.
So I find that what happens, like you say, that then that you've not got the strategy behind it. If you've got a strategy behind it, every single pen that you sell, there will be a percentage of profit on
Mhm.
every single item. So even if you just sell one, there will be part of that sale that is profit because it only has certain, like you said before, about breaking down your expenses to
Mhm.
the item. So yes, you may want to increase the sales, but on
Mhm.
each item, you should be in profit. It shouldn't be that you need to sell 10 of these before you make any money. Every single one that gets sold should be giving you a profit because that's how you work out the pricing. And it can be, I mean, like I had another client that, well, the biggest thing we were dealing with, we worked together for 4 weeks and
Mhm.
it was to help her to actually increase her earnings, to her to have more money. She wanted to basically replace her job, the money that she was earning in her job before. So when we worked it out, she was making like say she was doing cooking food and selling juices on 2 days a week. And in those 2 days a week, she would make, say, on average, $450 for 2 days. So part of her saying, that ain't bad, that's pretty good for 2 days. I said, okay. Now, when we worked out her expenses, she was so shocked for me to tell her that out of that $450, your actual profit for the 2 days is 150. 150. That's all the profit that you are making. Now, when we work together
Mhm.
to work out her expenses, to look at her pricing, to really examine it and get some strategies in place, literally the next week, so we would meet every week, and the next week, she made a profit of $300. So she doubled her profit. The week after that, she made a profit of $554. a profit. So that shows you she even made more sales because she was in profit. Why? Because she could take that extra profit and buy more stock. She actually added a different line of food to her menu because she had the money to buy it. And she wasn't scrambling the whole time. Like she said, she would take the money from the juices to buy the meat, and then she'd have to take the money from the meat to buy the fruit for the juice, and all these different things. It was always pulling money and moving it around. There was never just, this is the money for the stock, this is the money for the food, and this is my money. For her to, even on the fourth week, she actually had an accident and hurt herself, and she couldn't do as much work that week. She had to go to the doctor, and she was nearly in tears. She said to me, Abby, you know, this is the first time in my business that I've been able to go into my profits and go to the doctor. I would have been asking people to borrow money to go to the doctor. I would have been asking to do all sorts of things. I was able to buy the stuff for the business. Everything was covered, and pay for the doctor. She said she couldn't believe it. She was in shock. So persons are saying it as if you can't do both, but if you price correctly, you can.
Yeah.
A lot of persons are just running themselves in the ground because they're not making a profit. They feel that the sales are their profit. They're two completely different things.
Yep.
Sales and your profit are completely different. Yeah.
I totally agree with that. So then my question to you, Abby, is like, how is it that you're going to go about showing people, you know, that this is an important topic that they need to be able to focus on in order to benefit from their businesses? Many of us have businesses that we're not benefiting from. How are we going to get people to see? I mean, obviously there are a lot of other things that go into it as well. It's not, yes, pricing is critical, but it's not just pricing. You have to know,
For real.
you know, sales and all of those different things.
Not making the sales at all, you're still not going to make the money.
Exactly.
Right.
So then, but in terms of educating people about pricing, you know, I think that's something that's very, very important. And I can see why you're passionate about the topic, you know.
It stresses me.
So how now do you get other people to be passionate about this topic along with you?
I think that what's happened is that anytime I have like a pricing discussion, even like now, having this sort of back and forth, I've done lives on it in the past 2 on my page, and persons just being like, wow, yes. I think it's just highlighting to persons the kind of symptoms. If you're feeling like this, if this is what is happening in your business, then it's something you should look at examining. And what I also do is a profitable pricing audit. So you can actually go through the audit. It will take one of your prices and break it down and work out how you price, how you arrive at your prices, what profit you're actually making out of what you're selling. And it gives you then an idea. Is your pricing profitable or not? And then at that point, then you can decide, well, look, yeah, my pricing is great. I've been doing great. You have to decide then, well, how did you reach those prices? Have you just been kind of plucking numbers out the sky? So if that's the case, even if they are profitable, that's not really a strategy because you don't know why they're profitable. So when you're pricing something else now, you don't know how to make that happen. You know, you can't replicate it, put it that way. So yeah, really, I just try to have it as something that bring it up from time to time for persons to analyze, think about it in your business. Because the worrying thing about the pricing problem is that it tends to snowball and get worse. And you can be focusing on something else like sales or being visible and doing different stuff, and it actually can get worse and worse. So for example, we mentioned about for example, if you're making fish cakes and you're not allocating money to when you cook the fish cakes, then what happens when you get a really big order and you have to pay somebody else to cook the fish cakes? What happens is have to take money out of your profits that you didn't allocate and give it to this person to do that job because you never allocated funds for it to happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it
But
can make it worse. You're selling more, but your costs have increased and you are making less profit on these bigger sales.
well, okay, so if we use the same fish cake example, I just noticed some messages that we would have missed as well. But if we look at the same fish cake business, there are some products that you can't necessarily go too far out of what the general pricing is for those products. So then how does a person that sells those type of products handle that and still come out more profitable? Is it that they need to supplement with other things that would generate more income? I mean, I think these are real things that you still need to let's like for instance,
Mm-hmm.
newspapers. I think that's a good example. Newspapers are the same cost no matter where we go in the island, right?
Right.
But somebody might have spent more money in gas going to collect their newspapers than another person that based on where they're going, to get their stock. So obviously they're in essence, I'm just using a random example, they're making less money than somebody that literally just walked down the road, pick up their newspapers and just went, a few kilometers down, walk back to their location, sold the
Mm-hmm.
newspapers, so then
Then,
and
mm-hmm.
like they can add on to the cost of the newspaper so that they can make a bigger profit. Then how do you handle those things?
Right. Then is when you need to get creative. So the fact that you have a vehicle, you need to utilize that. The fact that you
Mhm.
have a vehicle, you're going to add a service or something about the way that you sell those newspapers. You may be in a more convenient location because you can get there, whereas a person on foot can't do it. You may have, there may be things that you can include because you have transportation that
Mhm.
other persons can't. So you might even deliver the newspaper, but it's got a larger price attached to it. And you may find that persons are like, hey, well, if you drop off the newspaper by me, I don't mind paying the extra couple of dollars, right? So you've got to get creative about the way that you charge in order to still be profitable. So realistically speaking, if you are doing something that has a very specific, I mean, obviously you're picking up newspapers, so you haven't got any manufacturing costs and all them sort of different things. So the fact that you're not going to have to worry about those costs is just something you are picking up. It
Mhm.
may even be you're going to pick up, why don't you pick up the guy's newspapers who's on foot? And you, between the two of you now, you can pick up more newspapers, you drop them off at their location, you go to your location, they contribute to the gas. You've got to think outside the box to make sure that you control your costs and you're going to make a profit on your product. It doesn't make sense to be doing it at a loss or doing it and then just saying, oh well, I'm making less because of my circumstances. You've got to do something different. You've got to take
Mhm.
another view on it. So, even when we were discussing in the challenge tomorrow, your challenge about adding value.
Mhm.
So are there things that you could do that don't really cost you anything, but they do something, they add value so that you can charge what you need to charge to make a profit. And if
Mhm.
honestly, there's nothing else you can do, stop selling newspapers because it's not profitable. You have to make a decision, you know, go and
Yeah,
sell something else.
fair enough. I guess like for me too, I know that there are certain things that are cultural, you know, or
Right,
or the norm that would make it difficult for people to make changes to their prices, especially with certain things. So that's why I asked
right,
that question. Because even when you talked about the delivery and that's me just let's say I'm sticking on the thought of newspapers for right now. Um, Based on my past experiences, not selling newspapers, but having persons that come and deliver the newspapers to your house, I don't think there was an extra cost for that. It was just that they made their track, they delivered the things, just to ensure that they got that sale rather than the person go and buy it from somebody else. And culturally, it's not a case where somebody's going to sit down and say, I'm going to pay you extra to deliver my paper. You know, persons are probably likely, to get up and decide, I am actually going to go down the road and get a newspaper myself.
I get my own paper.
You understand? And that's
Possible.
not
It's
only with,
possible.
it's not only with newspapers, it's with other products as well. Um,
But then
so
maybe
then,
that's something to look at. Like I said, look at your circumstances. You have a vehicle, make use of it. So do a collaboration with somebody else. Do something, to ensure that you are controlling your costs. So you can't just accept it and have bad pricing, because it will eventually wear you down, because you'll be like, okay, I've gone to all this effort, I've put all this gas in my car, and I've done all of this, and I've just got some little pittance in my hand. What is the point? You might as well go and pump gas. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not profitable. It's not worth your while.
mhm,
And so it is a matter of finding a way to make it profitable so that you can continue doing it. Because ultimately, gas is going up all the time. So if you can't increase your prices for going and using that gas, then eventually it's not going to be worth doing it, is it? It's going to be literally like, well, I'm literally just paying my gas and I'm not making any money at all. Yeah.
mhm. Triple X, I saw that you mentioned something about a support, where is the support system earlier. Would you like to expand on that so we can get a better understanding? Oh, I feel like, okay, so he said what drives you down are the Beijing employees, and let's not forget them. What I was
Employees.
missing another thing. Um, so I think yes, there's to me that's like a twofold situation. Sometimes it really depends on, you have to determine the type of person you want to hire for your business. And then you
Excellent.
also have to determine how much you're going to invest in training them properly. Yes, sometimes you come up with, you might butt upon a bad apple here and there, but
Mm-hmm.
most of the time, I would dare say, the majority of the time when you see a situation when employees are not doing what we think they're supposed to do, half the time they haven't been trained well. It's just literally an orientation. Here is what I want you to do, but you haven't trained them on what your brand is supposed to be about. You know, this is the way I want you to handle my customers. And every single
Mm-hmm.
time you speak to them, this is the way I would like you to speak to them. And every time you interact with them, this is the way I would like you to interact with them. And then like carry them through a rigorous training. And a lot of emerging businesses or solopreneurs. Well, it can't be solopreneurs if they hired somebody, no. But a lot of emerging businesses, they forget that part. You know, it comes back to the same. I did a challenge on the customer experience last week. It literally comes back down to that. What do you want your customer experience to be? And a lot of the things that happen in your business actually stems from that. The type of person you're going to hire in order to create that customer experience, the training that you're
Mm-hmm.
going to put into place in order to ensure that the person that you've hired helps to create that customer experience so that you get those customers to keep coming back to you repeatedly and a lot more. So
And incentives for them, get them involved in the business, like make them just not just a not just like a disposable part of the business. Make them feel that they are actually an intrinsic part of the success of that business, and
Mhm,
make it worth their while going out of their way, so that if you might even have incentives that will, what, if we reach this target today and you do really well with your customer service and we reach this target today, we're going to do A, B, or C. It doesn't even have to
mhm,
be anything crazy, like I used to work in a store. I worked in retail for many years, and
mhm,
I was a supervisor at a store. And when I used to be the management on a Saturday, we would have our targets and we would have all our different stuff that we were doing in the store. I would have the staff there and I'd say to them, right, after work,
mhm,
if we meet our targets, everybody do your best, this is what we got to do. After work, everybody smoothies. It didn't have to be anything. And they didn't even expect it necessarily. But I would say I appreciate you guys doing what I asked you to do. I appreciate you guys working as a team and doing the things you want to do, right? And it's something that you have to give them incentives to want to be part of it, not to just have them there and you're giving them some wage and you're just like, you should be, excelling in the way that you're doing whatever you're doing. It has to be actually worth their while, where they need to feel motivated to do it. So I think with employees, very important. I don't think we can just chuck them in there and then blame them for whatever. But like you say, sometimes you go into a place and these people are something else. I'll just be like, you just want to walk straight back out.
Fair enough.
Could be killing you.
Fair enough. Just to answer your question in terms of the request, what we are doing here today is actually really an interview about what Abi does and who she is as a person and what she does in her business. So the way this is formatted, we normally just do it interview style, and I guess in our case we kind of ended up in a little debate, so to speak, as it related to pricing. So that's why I haven't accepted the request. But during the day when I do the Let's Link Live, that format actually allows for persons to come in and we can have discussions around, but not in this particular setting. So just so that we're clear on why I haven't accepted the request. But thank you. So as we're wrapping up, I know we kind of went a little bit off in terms of the debate about pricing because it was actually very, very intriguing. And it's something that I could see why you are passionate about it. and clearly Triple X is also very passionate about this topic. So we definitely need to have a discussion so that we can really get to see it from different perspectives. I really think that's important because we don't want to look at things in a vacuum, and say, well, this, because it reminds me of looking at it in a vacuum reminds me of when I was at university, and they teach you all the theory, and then when you get out into the real world, it's like this thing happens and the theory really cannot help with this situation. So then it is good to be able to get these different perspectives.
It's true. But I think that is why it is why things like when we have our mastermind sessions and that sort of thing, you're able to have that sort of discussion, and it's not in a setting where you have to be thinking about other persons that are on the call. It's like we're all having this interaction together, so it makes it a bit easier to discuss certain things and working out.
What I can do for you, Triple X, is at the end of the call, I will link you and Abby because she is the pricing expert here. And I think it would be good for the two of y'all to have a discussion so that y'all can see, you can find out more, and then you can also set your concerns and then work through it. If that is okay with you, I'm more than happy to link y'all.
DM on Richard Girls Academy IG in between, sheep visits and things.
Right. So while we are not visiting sheep, I actually very much enjoyed this conversation today.
It was.
And before we go, as we're wrapping up, I would like you to tell people where they can find you so that they can talk about their productivity, their profitability, and their accountability.
Right. So you can check out my Instagram profile, which is Reach Your Goals Academy, with the underscores in between, Also, if you're interested in our Bayesian Fan Mastermind, which is a limited amount of persons in on the discussion, and that support and accountability, it is, you can check out Bayesian.fam on Instagram. You can also, if you're a female entrepreneur here in Barbados, you can join our Facebook group, which is Bayesian Fempreneurs, and also Reach Your Goals Academy and Reach Your Goals Planner on Facebook. So, or I guess if you wanted to email me, you could do reachyourgoalsacademy@gmail.com. That's pretty much me, I think, Michelle.
Fantastic. And could you tell persons, I'm not sure if you got your the planner filled?
I have got 2 spaces left. So if you are a female entrepreneur here in Barbados and you want to get that visibility, you want to feature yourself and your business in our planner, which is available not only in a physical planner for you to write in, it's also available in a PDF form. You can just shoot me a message, and we'll have a chat. Like I say, there's 2 spaces left, and we always fill up the planner every year, so it tends to be a bit of a rush, to make sure that you grab a space before they all run out. So if you want to be featured in the planner, that's no problem. Let me know, talk to me about it, and you let me know about your business, and we can set you up to be featured in the planner along with Chamara for 2022. So it's an awesome community. It's like a family when we are all featured in the planner. Everybody's interacting and making those connections and networking. So it's not just the feature in the planner. You also get a Instagram live interview on the month that you're featured, and you also get posts on our social media on that month that you're featured. So we're really just about promoting you and your businesses during the month that you're featured within the planner, and really supporting you to reach your goals. We're also doing some stuff for collaborations with selling the planner. If you want, I'll be able to be doing special pricing if you want to sell the planner yourself. You can even get a planner that has your own customized cover. You can also get a planner that is customized to your business. We can produce one for you, and you can print it and sell it, or you can print it and use it with your customers and your programs. So there's a lot that goes on with the planner. There's a lot of opportunities with the planner. Just literally shoot me a DM and we can go through them and see what would be right for you.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing.
You're welcome.
And I want to take this opportunity to thank you once again for joining us, and thank you everyone who has been here with us tonight, and for all of the engagement tonight as well, because that was actually a fantastic discussion. I'm Chamara Hollingsworth, and you can find me at Make It Happen with Chamara on both Instagram and Facebook. But I'm mostly here on Instagram, so feel free to DM me if you have any questions related to creating a phenomenal customer experience or building out your systems and processes. Once you DM me, then we can have a discussion and go from there. Thank you, Kathleen, for your comment. Another very informative interview. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
And thank you for continually being here with us almost every single week.
Lovely.
Right. Okay, so thank you everyone, and have a wonderful night tonight. Bye.
Bye.